My entitled sister got pregnant by her boyfriend, and my parents blamed me for speaking up. Now that she hit rock bottom, everyone is coming back for my help. So I gotta get this off my chest. Middle child syndrome is real, okay? I'm stuck between two sisters, Katie, the eldest golden child, and Emily, the baby who gets away with murder. And me, I'm just here, filing paperwork at a doctor's office, answering phones like, "Good afternoon, this is Dr. Manning's office. How can I help you?" for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Living the dream, obviously. My life isn't that bad, don't get me wrong, but it's like so boring. Same crap every day. Sometimes I swear I can feel my brain melting. The best part of the job is stealing the good pens from the supply closet, but even that's starting to feel like a hollow victory. And of course, my parents couldn't care less about what I do. Why? Because Katie exists. Now, Katie's an elementary school teacher. Big whoop, right? But in my parents' eyes, she's basically the second coming of Mother Teresa because she's shaping young minds. Yeah, well, she's also shaping them while getting hammered on boxed wine every weekend, but I guess that doesn't make it to the family newsletter. Anyway, Katie started dating this guy, Rick, and I gotta tell you, Rick is exactly what you think of when you hear the word redneck. He drives a beat up truck that makes noises I'm pretty sure are illegal, wears camo hats to family dinners. Unironically, no job, no plans to get one either. His biggest accomplishment is finishing a 24-pack of Bud Light in one sitting. I tried to give the dude a chance, but come on, even Katie could do better. The real kicker? They've been dating for like a month when Katie announces, "Brace yourselves. She's pregnant." My mom cried. Dad popped champagne. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there thinking, am I the only one who sees this as a terrible idea? Like, he has no job, no health insurance. My sister's about to bring a whole human into the world, and Rick's contribution to society is that he once caught a 30-pound bass. So I made the mistake, huge mistake, of trying to say something. I wasn't even rude about it, I swear. I just said something like, do you guys think this is maybe moving too fast? Bad. Move. Mom's head basically spun 180 degrees, like one of those horror movie dolls, and she screamed at me, "You need to respect your sister's choices." Which, by the way, is wild considering these are the same parents who told me wearing hoodies in the house was a bad life decision. And it wasn't just my mom. No, Dad jumped in too. Something about how Katie is following her heart and how I need to support her because that's what family does. Meanwhile, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So y'all are just cool with her shacking up with Trailer Park Ted over here? Got it. I got completely shut down. If Katie jumped off a cliff, I think they'd buy her a parachute and tell me to be more supportive of her leap. What's wild is I don't even hate Rick. He's not a bad guy per se, just wildly unqualified for life. He's like that one friend everyone has who's funny after a couple beers, but also might set your couch on fire. Like, Rick's the type of guy who thinks recycling is for liberals. And my parents are still over here treating him like he's Prince William. So now I'm just keeping my mouth shut at family gatherings, nodding along while Katie talks about nursery themes and Rick explains how he's planning to eventually get a job when the right opportunity comes along. Which, if we're being real, probably means he's waiting for his dream job as a professional bass fisherman to become available. Meanwhile, my parents are acting like I'm the biggest disappointment just because I dared to say, hey, maybe this isn't the best idea. I mean, sure, I don't have a kid or a girlfriend, but at least I've got a steady job, right? But nope. All I ever hear is, why can't you be more like Katie? Well, maybe because I'm not trying to win the award for most reckless life decisions. Honestly, it's kind of hilarious. Katie's out here making life choices with all the foresight of a raccoon on Red Bull, and I'm the one catching heat for questioning it. At this point, I've decided to just enjoy the show. Every time Rick talks about his big plans that involve a whole lot of thinking and not much else, I take mental notes. One day, when this baby grows up, I'm going to be the fun uncle who tells them all the wild stories about their parents' early days. Until then, I guess I'll just keep being the overlooked middle child sitting at my desk answering phones and dreaming of the day Katie realizes that love doesn't rent. Update. So, yeah, things have gotten real complicated since my last post. Turns out life isn't quite as black and white as I thought, and Rick, the guy I thought was just some deadbeat with a camo hat collection, well, let's just say I've been reevaluating some things. Not because I wanted to, more because I had to. Life, man. See, after the whole you need to respect your sister's choices scream fest from my mom, I figured I'd give Rick a fair shot. I mean, yeah, I was pissed about how things were moving, but if this dude is about to be my niece or nephew's dad, I might as well try to get to know him, or at least find out if there's anything going on under that trucker hat besides beer and bass fishing. So I invited him out for a beer, just me and him. And honestly, the guy was kind of surprised. I think he assumed I hated him, which, to be fair, I did, but he showed up anyway. We went to this dive bar downtown that looks like it hasn't been renovated since the 80s. Rick fit right in, obviously. I was a little out of place, but whatever. I'm trying here. At first, it was awkward, like really awkward. I kept trying to find some kind of common ground, but we're just two very different people. I told him about my job at the doctor's office, and he looked at me like I told him I was an astronaut. Said he doesn't know how I can sit in one place all day without going nuts. Fair point, honestly. Then he told me he's been working on fixing up his truck, and I nodded like I knew anything about engines. Spoiler, I do not. But the more we talked, the more I realized that Rick is not a bad guy, just like a little lost. He didn't have it easy growing up. No mom in the picture. And his dad? Yeah, that guy sounds like a real piece of work. Rick mentioned super casually that his old man used to hit him every now and then when I got out of line. Like he was talking about getting a flat tire or burning his toast. No big deal, just a fact of life. And I had to stop him right there. I was like, dude, that's not okay. That's really terrible. He shrugged it off like it didn't matter, but I could see it in his eyes. He knew it wasn't right, even if he wasn't ready to say it out loud. So I laid it out for him. Look, Rick, you can't ever hit Katie. I don't care if she's driving you up a wall, you just can't. He looked at me, dead serious, and said, I'd never do that. And weirdly, I believe him. For all his flaws, Rick isn't a violent guy. I think maybe he's just been carrying around a lot of crap from his past and doesn't know what to do with it. Makes sense in a way. Nobody ever gave him a roadmap for how to be a decent adult, let alone a dad. And credit where it's due, he's been making an effort. He's been spending more time with my parents, which is kind of hilarious because my mom is obsessed with him now. She thinks it's adorable that he calls her ma'am and thanks her for every meal like it's a five-star dining experience. She even got him to start going to church with them. Yeah, you read that right. Rick is now a churchgoer. And here's the wild part. One of my parents' old friends from the church offered to help him out if he ever needs a job. The guy runs some kind of construction business and told Rick to give him a call if he's interested. I gotta admit, I didn't see that coming. It's ironic, though, because the more I warm up to Rick, the more Katie seems to hate me. I don't know what her problem is, but she's been drinking a lot more lately. Like wine every night and not in a fun, I just need to unwind kind of way. More like a please don't talk to me until this bottle is empty vibe. And it's not just me noticing it. Even my parents are starting to get worried, and they don't worry about Katie, ever. What's worse is it's starting to affect her job. She's called in sick a couple of times already, and one of her coworkers mentioned that she's been showing up late and looking pretty rough. It's not a good look for an elementary school teacher, especially one who's supposed to be, pregnant. Everyone's walking on eggshells around her because we're all terrified about what this means for the baby. My mom tried to bring it up gently the other day, and Katie just snapped, told her to mind her own business. My dad, he's just pretending it's not happening, which is classic him. Avoid the problem until it goes away or explodes, whichever comes first. And Rick, honestly, I think he's trying his best, but he's way out of his depth here. You can tell he wants to help, but he doesn't really know how. It's like watching someone try to catch a fish with their bare hands. He's flailing, but at least he's in the water, you know? At this point, I I don't even know what to do. Part of me wants to shake Katie and tell her to snap out of it, but I know that's not going to go over well. And the other part of me just wants to disappear, let them figure it out on their own, because let's be real, I didn't sign up for this. But then I think about the baby. This kid is coming whether anyone's ready or not, and someone's got to have their head on straight. It sure as hell isn't going to be Katie or Rick right now, and my parents are too busy treating them like a reality TV couple to see the cracks forming. So I guess that leaves me. Middle child to the rescue, I guess. I don't know how this is all going to shake out, but I'm trying. I'm trying with Rick. I'm trying to be patient with Katie, and I'm trying not to lose my mind in the process. Wish me luck. Update 2. All right, buckle up because things took a turn and it's been a hell of a week. So I was texting with my little sister, F23, the other night, just venting about Katie as usual. It's kind of our thing. We both need to blow off steam about how mom and dad treat Katie like she's made of gold, while the two of us are apparently lucky to exist. I mean, it's gotten worse lately with Katie drinking more and all. And I told Emily, I don't know what we can even do anymore. That's when Emily hit me with some news I really didn't expect. Apparently, everyone in the family thinks Katie decided to take time off from teaching to focus on the baby, as if that's some noble thing. But Emily found out the truth directly from Katie. Turns out Katie was made to take time off. She didn't tell our parents the whole story, of course, because God forbid anything tarnishes their precious image of her. But the school basically forced her out. She had been showing up late, smelling like wine, and on at least one occasion, brace yourselves, actually drunk. The administration said she needed to take a leave of absence or they'd fire her. I just sat there staring at my phone like, are you kidding me right now? This whole time we've been tiptoeing around Katie, pretending everything's fine, while she's been spiraling way worse than we even knew. I told Emily, we need to do something, like a full-on intervention. But here's the thing. If I suggest anything to mom or dad about Katie, they'll act like I just insulted the Queen of England. So I told Emily, if this is going to happen, you'll have to be the one to talk to mom. Emily, being the only other sane person in the family, was like, fine, I'll bring it up tomorrow. And I mean, I didn't have high hopes. Our parents have this Olympic level skill of ignoring anything that reflects poorly on Katie, but Emily pulled through. She talked to mom that afternoon, and surprisingly, mom actually listened. I think the whole coming to work drunk thing might have shaken her up more than anything else could. So fast forward to yesterday. We set the whole thing up. Mom and dad, Emily, me, and even Rick, who, to his credit, was fully on board. We all agreed to sit Katie down, tell her how much we love her, but also let her know that she's seriously messing up, and it's not just about her anymore. It's about the baby. I won't lie, I was nervous as hell. Katie's not exactly someone who handles criticism well. She's more of a scream and storm out type. But we had to try, right? When Katie walked in and saw us all sitting there, the first thing she said was, "What the hell is this?" Classic. Mom started off trying to be all soft and understanding, talking about how we're all worried about her. But Katie wasn't having any of it. She crossed her arms, rolled her eyes, and said, "You've got to be kidding me." Rick spoke up next. He told her, "Katie, you know I love you, but we're all here because we care about you. This isn't a joke." And honestly, I gotta give it to Rick. He looked way more scared than Katie, but he didn't back down. That's when Katie lost it. She stood up, hands shaking, and started screaming. I mean, not just angry, full on rage mode. She yelled about how we were all against her, how none of us understood how hard things were for her, and how we just wanted to see her fail. She even threw in some classic Katie lines about how she's done more for this family than any of us, which, I'm sorry. What? I didn't realize getting plastered on weekdays and shacking up with Rick were acts of public service. And of course, she aimed a special part of her meltdown at me. "You've hated me since day one," she said, pointing right at me like I'd stolen her life savings or something. "You've never supported me. Ever. You're just jealous because mom and dad actually like me." And yeah, okay, that stung a little. But this wasn't about me. This was about getting her help, so I bit my tongue. Emily tried to jump in, calm her down, but Katie turned on her next. "And you," she snapped. "You're just a sneaky little brat who pretends to care so you can feel better about yourself." That was the moment I thought the whole thing was going to fall apart. Katie was standing there, chest heaving, practically vibrating with anger, and Emily looked like she was about 2 seconds away from crying. Rick, bless his heart, tried again. Katie, please. But she shut him down too, telling him, "You're only here because they made you come." It was brutal. I honestly thought Rick was going to walk out right then and there, but to his credit, he stayed. The dude may not have a job, but he's got staying power. Then something weird happened. After her screaming fit, Katie just broke. It was like all the fight drained out of her in an instant. She sat down on the couch, buried her face in her hands, and started crying. Not those fake manipulative tears either. The real ugly kind where you can't catch your breath. And I don't think any of us expected it. For a solid minute, we all just sat there, stunned, watching her fall apart. Finally, Mom moved next to her and put a hand on her back. "Katie," she said softly, "we're not here to attack you. We're here because we love you and we're scared." And that was it. Something about those words just cracked her open. Between sobs, Katie admitted she knew she'd been drinking too much, that she was overwhelmed and didn't know how to stop. "I feel like I've ruined everything," she whispered. "I don't even know how to be a good mom. I swear it was like watching a dam burst." All this fear and guilt she'd been holding in just came rushing out. She talked about how she felt trapped, how she was terrified about being a mom and didn't think she was good enough. She even admitted that she knew Rick was trying, but she'd been pushing him away because she didn't want him to see how scared she really was. Rick, to his credit, didn't say, "I told you so," or anything like that. He just sat next to her, put an arm around her, and said, "We'll figure it out." Uh, by the end of the intervention, Katie promised to get help. She said she'd stop drinking and talk to someone, like a therapist or a counselor, about everything she's been dealing with. She also apologized to all of us, which I think was harder for her than the actual crying part. And you know what? For the first time in a long time, I believe her. It's not going to be perfect, obviously. Katie's got a lot of work to do, and none of us are under the illusion that everything's magically fixed now. But it's a start, and that's more than I thought we'd get. So, yeah, that's where we're at. It's not exactly a happy ending, but it's progress. And for this family, that's pretty damn good.